Playoffs, and we got to make predictions.
It looks like we're live here.
Did you do this? Yes.
Yeah, we did. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of ATL on Fire, the podcast where we talk all things Atlanta United Football Club and all things soccer. Dave, Carmen, how we doing?
Good.
Carmen, not so good.
She's got to be up early in the
early
morning.
flight.
Yeah.
It sounds like you did this to yourself.
I did. I didn't know I did it to myself until I checked at around 6 o'clock this evening. So you have a 7 o'clock flight, which means I have to get up in the 4 o'clock hour. And have I packed? Have I done the work I was going to do tomorrow during the day before my flight?
No.
None of that.
Okay.
Been on that.
Good luck with that.
On that flight.
But you're still here. That's what I said. You are here. That's impressive.
I tried to recruit your son, but he had a job.
Yeah.
I know. He's working at the ice cream shop.
But at least Dave has always brought us a nice glass of red wine. So hopefully.
It's a Spanish wine.
I know.
I thought I'd throw you a little curveball.
Oh.
From Duero in Spain.
Tortilla?
Duero.
Is that how you pronounce that?
Yeah, Porsche, I think. Tortilla?
Tortilla?
I'm not a Spanish. But it's a Tempranillo, which is, classic.
Okay.
For Spain.
Yeah, I don't know if the T is like a S there, like you're pronouncing.
If you're out there and you know how to pronounce it, Portia. Porsche or Portilla?
Let me give this a go. Carmen, what are your thoughts? Complex,
good, needed. Can you describe wine that way?
Oh yeah, fair.
Yeah, all of those things. So and if you guys have not been to Wild Heaven Brewery in the fall here, it was just up there over the weekend. Man, what a beautiful afternoon up there, having a couple cold beers at one of the best breweries here in Atlanta. 2 locations here in Avondale Estates, dog friendly, and one over on the west side of town. So
do we have any idea when the 3rd location is coming at Toca Hills?
I don't think it's going to be a while. Until sometime, in 2024, maybe summertime is maybe a good guess of mine.
If you're out there listening, Nick, faster, please.
Faster.
Bring us the beer and the barbecue. And the beer and the barbecue together. Yay.
Yes.
Sorry, I had to say that.
So we've got a 1-game recap. So we're pretty much all caught up here on ATL on Fire. We had the final game of the season against Cincinnati on the road. A game that really didn't seem like it mattered much when you look at, what winning would get us versus losing, maybe drawing a worse team to play in the playoffs. So it was very odd that we went into that game with pretty much our starters except for Lennon, and really trying to go in there and win the game. Dave, what were your thoughts?
My thoughts were, boy, was I wrong.
Yeah.
So I tweeted before the game. Let's see here. I was responding to the Dirty South where they predict the lineup every week. And I said they predicted basically the starting lineup. And I said I would be surprised to see many of these players on the field tomorrow. There's an argument to be made for momentum or staying fresh, but caution probably rules the day, especially for those who played during the international break. I was wrong.
So much for caution. Like, why would you be cautious, Dave? Are there any good reasons for that?
Yeah, there's a good reason, because there's 2 things that could really throw off your playoffs: injury and or a red card.
Huh. That's interesting that you were thinking maybe there's a downside to going for it. In addition to what we were talking about in our last podcast, we kind of wanted Nashville to win and us to lose, and us to draw Orlando.
Now, Nashville... So we, at the time we were talking in the last podcast, Nashville had 2 games left. They won their first game against New England, which we thought was the tougher of the 2. And then, they had to beat Red Bulls at home. Now, in fairness, we said at the time that Red Bulls would need that game to get into the playoffs. They had a lot to play for. Nashville wouldn't. I still thought Nashville would get it done at home. And they almost did. They gave up the game-winning goal in the 90-something minute on a PK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Red Bull gets into the playoffs. We'll talk about that in a minute. But in any case, Nashville wins. That's what we really would have wanted, because they would jump over us, and then we would get Orlando, which I think is a much better matchup. By far of the top teams, being the top teams being Cincinnati, Philadelphia, Columbus, in my opinion.
Yep.
I think that Orlando is the weakest of those four.
Right. So,
I'm not saying they're a bad side, but the weakest of those four. And it shows they have the lowest goal differential of those four. So, not goal differential is not everything, but I think that is, to me, a reflection of what I think of them as a side. Right. Anyway, we had, even if you say you don't want that, even if you absolutely wanted to play Columbus or Philadelphia, right? Then,
do it with a different lineup that's not risking.
Well, we didn't do it. We didn't win. And the chances of winning were pretty slim on the road at Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
So was it literally our starting lineup except Brooks Lennon?
Yep.
He rested Brooks Lennon because Brooks Lennon apparently had a bad ankle injury. He still risked them in the last 10 minutes coming off the bad ankle injury.
And Cincinnati, they had their starters out there too, surprisingly. Right?
I was surprised. Noonan went with his starters too. Although their best striker was on international duty. Noonan disciplined him because he apparently showed up like an hour or two late back. And so he couldn't start because he was being disciplined. So that, to me, that was their rest. Yeah. He didn't want him. He was the one guy he didn't want. Now, I would have said maybe Lucio Acosta would have sat too, but he didn't. So, that's in fairness. He didn't do it either.
Okay.
But I think it's nuts. I mean, I concede the point about momentum and about wanting to, sort of play well. But it's a 3-game series. Right. It's not one game and you're out. Right. Mm-hmm. So even if for some reason you stumble a little bit out of the gate, you still got 2 games. Potentially you can win the last 2. So I don't think momentum is that much. I'd rather be rested, healthy, have the full squad.
So didn't do that. So let's look on the upside of momentum. Did we get any momentum?
Mm-mm.
Did we play well?
Mm-mm. A lot of people are talking about us having played pretty well. Before the red card, it was pretty even, I guess. And we scored 2 goals, but it was classic Atlanta United. We gave up 2 goals too. And we'll get to this in a second. I don't know if you remember, but I said we would give up 2 goals, which would bring us to 53 against. Does anybody recall how many goals we gave up last year?
I don't remember.
I'm going to go with 65.
No.
52.
No. 54.
Oh.
Okay.
This year we conceded 53. Last year we conceded 54. Right?
I thought we were way
and
worse.
We might as well. I'm going to say it now because we're not going to circle back to it. I'm like, so at the end of last season, we talked about it a tremendous amount, right? Because we were like, it was a catastrophe for a season. There was all these people on Twitter who were saying, oh, but we had so many injuries. Pineda, how many times did he say that we had all these injuries and it cost us not only in play, but our morale? And in particular, he talked about the leadership vacuum that Guzan and Miles had, left, right?
That's right.
And that was the reason that we gave up so many goals, which is why we were terrible and didn't make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So this year, he's got those guys for the entire season, and we have a so much better defensive record, right? No, the exact same defensive record.
And what was the playoff line last year? 7?
Yes.
Okay. So we would have just limped in even last year to the playoffs.
Did we finish 7th last year?
We didn't make the playoffs at all last year.
Yeah, no, we were way below that, right?
Yeah,
9. We finished like 9.
9, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So even last year, we'd have just snuck in, given the play-in and all that.
Got it.
So
double checking them.
6th.
Last year we were 11th.
6th is
11th?
We were 11th last year. We
Are
wouldn't have
kidding?
even made the playoffs in a 9.
Oh, I didn't know we were that
11th out of 14.
Ouch.
I just
that's a fact.
As I said,
the internet.
I've already heard some of the rumblings of Pineda talking about mentality. He's going back to the word mentality,
right,
as his shield, because he can't go back to health. Everybody's healthy, and the reason we didn't win the last game is the mentality of Almada.
The reason why we can't
because
get over
he was
the hump.
silly.
Yep.
Is a bad mental. We got to get over these mental mistakes and immature move. Like he will throw him under the bus, guaranteed. And how about his own mentality of even playing him in a useless game?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I mean, the other thing about Almada in particular, right? And I'm not saying that when I tweeted it out, I was like somehow prescient that Almada was going to get red carded. But, Almada, for a young guy, has played and played and played. Keep in mind, he played in the World Cup, right? He had, while everybody else had an off season, he had a Winter World Cup where he not only had a World Cup, but then he went back to Argentina to party, the whole thing, then went right into the season. And then he's had international duty. He has had nothing but play.
Yeah.
So you can
one
see
chance to rest him here right into the playoffs.
Yeah, the other thing is of people.
Let's do it with our best player, Brooks Lennon. Let's give him some rest. Genius.
I can't.
The thing that I would say is that, a number of people have commented on this is that, Almada has looked like towards the end of the season that he's lost a little bit of that jazz or whatever. And it's because it's a long season and he's young. Right. And so this would have been an opportunity. Get him nowhere near the field, get him rested. It's not like Almada's going to forget how to play football in a week.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't see his first yellow card in this Cincinnati game. Was just a normal run of play foul?
No, they were both the exact same thing. He kicked somebody both times.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that we'll get to it, but
which actually is not just a red card, but it's a young person silly red card, but it also speaks to me as of a tired player. Like you get a little under your skin when you're a little tired. They've been trying to get under his skin the whole season because he's the best player and they're pushing.
Can you
him,
scoot over here for a second though? I just want to know, like, which is worse out of these two things right here? You ready? Yeah. Which out of those two things? I'm just curious. Which of those things is silly and malicious, right? Because we're talking about just parts of the body, right?
Right.
Now, had I bumped you with my butt like I did, which is about as hard as I kicked you, right? Which I think even the butt bump by the player against Almada was away from the ball. So you could say that was just as silly. And if Almada had fallen down and rolled around like that guy did, like, is that what he should have done? Maybe instead of kicking him back, he should have just fallen and rolled and held his ankle.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is it was a dumb, silly foul. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
He's always going to get that call against him.
Sure.
But my point being is a smart referee, his job is to keep it fair. I would have just turned a blind eye to all that and said, let's get up and play.
I would have given him a tucking to and be like, come on.
Right.
Yeah.
Come on now, Almada. Don't be silly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't cost your team.
Because, again, the ref's job there is to call a fair game. Both of those players at the end of the day know that they were just, chipping at each other and would have been fine with the no call and the talking
the Cincinnati players are like, we got exactly what we want. We got under his skin. He retaliated a little 100%, bit. Nothing happened to me, and bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean, that's all I'm saying. It's a little nod to maturity of the referee in that situation too, which I mean, 99.9% of the referees are going to give the yellow and the red there anyway, but not a good ref, but I'm just saying
here's the thing that you should know though. Here's the context, Mikey Dobbs, and here's why that was never going to happen. Mm-hmm. This is the same referee that Almada bumped into after the game was over at the last game of the season last year when he got the red card after the game was over. There's history. So,
all right.
He was never going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Got it.
Never.
Okay.
So, it comes around, right? You earn some certain things. But anyway, he never should have been in the game. And even if you put him in the game, right, when he gets the first yellow card, how at halftime do you not sub him? Right? We were texting some of the friends of mine, whatever. And, Matt Noop, if you're out there listening, he was like, sub him! And I was like, sub him! Clearly, don't risk it. Right. Why?
Yeah. Because it was 2-2 at that point, right?
Yeah.
I don't understand it at all. I just don't get it. I thought y'all were kidding me because I couldn't watch the game.
No.
And
and the other thing we have not talked about, but Giacomakis I have tried to find some information. Do you see any information? He got stamped really hard. He had to be subbed because of the injury. Now, I think he's going to play.
He's fine. Giacomakis, for a big guy, is about as dramatic as they come.
No, but
as long as it's not a soft muscle injury, he's fine if he got his foot stomped.
No, you know what it looked to me like?
What?
It looked to me like exactly the way that David Beckham broke his metatarsal, where the cleat landed right on the top of the foot with a soft part, like not a roll injury, but like a.
I think he's okay. Here's why. I think he had a post interview after the game, and he was talking positive about the team and everything.
Yeah, but
maybe
Carmen can.
I don't think you're going to be as cheerful as he was if he had a.
I agree with you, and I tried to find something out, but.
I didn't see anything.
No, I only watched up until the red card because I
had enough.
I had to watch the game on replay. Watched it Sunday morning, I think.
Yeah.
And as far as like just watching an entertaining soccer game, it was fun for.
We scored one of the best goals we've ever scored.
Yeah, there was some.
The first goal that we scored was absolutely stunning. I mean. Really? Absolutely stunning. It was like 4 or 5 players, one or two touch,
good teamwork.
Just broke them all down. I mean, it was a beautiful goal. Maybe we can show that.
Yeah, you pull that up. But I just thought that the team did look like they were knocking the ball around, but of course, Cincinnati was getting chances on the other end as well. But just as far as like actually, again, watching soccer again, enjoying the way Atlanta United is playing. The first half, in my mind, at least, was not overly painful. Dave, what was your just taking a step back, just in terms of enjoying watching soccer? Did you completely dislike what you were saying?
I mean, Atlanta United over the last 10 games or so, ever since the midseason acquisition, so we've been a joyous team to watch.
Yeah.
So we are terrific going forward. We stream forward. We score great team goals. We're scoring basically at least 2 goals a game, but. What's so effing maddening is with all of that, we still not getting the results. And we're still not getting the results because we continue to give up stupid goals. And one of the things I want to say, circling back to the 53 goals this year versus 54 goals last year, right? The maddening thing about our tactics, and maybe in the offseason, I'm going to go back and look at them all, every single goal that we gave up. But the maddening thing about our tactics is the number of times that we give up a goal where nobody really gets beaten. Right. So the classic way that we give up goals, you break the lines with a pass in the middle because we're too far apart between Rossetto and Muyumba. Then you play it out wide behind the back defender or just out wide. Our wing backs are so pinched in that they're out there. He's allowed to serve it. And then all you have to do is you have 2 guys running and they get beat on the header.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what happened, right? People are talking about, Wiley got beaten by, Lucho Acosta, and he's so short. But anytime you have a wickedly served in ball, it doesn't matter how short you are. If you have time it right and you got the right, leverage and angle, a guy who is as athletic and is all over him and as taller as Wiley is to Lucho, he still couldn't stop him from scoring. And that's the point.
I do want to see that goal. I want to talk about that in a second. But let's watch our first goal. Carmen here is going to pull it up. So we're playing. Oh, yeah. Great.
Split the line to the
middle.
Great
ball, by the way.
And Almada, beautiful ball to Saba.
And then cuts it back to Giacomakis.
Oh, he did? Yeah. That looked real nice.
But, yeah,
beautiful
it was
goal.
Beautiful ball.
Team goal,
straight up to break the lines there and cut. It was a good, 40-yard ball right up to Almada.
If you're out there, Barry, and you're watching, watch what Giacomakis does on this, right? So first of all, he's offsides. Then he gets back on sides and he stops, so he's wide open.
Yeah.
That's a lovely goal.
Yeah. And then, I mean, Saba should have scored one where he tries to hit it with the outside of his foot later on in the game. Like that was lame. Should have definitely.
But Cincinnati should have scored a couple more goals, particularly after they were a man up. I mean, they gifted us their young Argentinian player. I mean, he missed a sitter.
So it was the goal we were just talking about, the first or second goal from Cincinnati. Do you remember?
Their second goal.
Okay. Do you want to jump to that or what? See the first one?
Oh, sorry. Did I skip one?
Oh, no. I just am asking Dave.
Oh, it's fine. Well, I mean, the only thing I'll say on the first goal is that they're both services, right? And you can't really, in my opinion, blame the defenders. Let's watch them both, right?
Yeah.
If you can, because you can't blame the defenders on either one of them, except for the only one you can blame on the first one.
So I think it's up forward. The next spot. Yeah, right. Yep, back right there. Yeah.
This one?
This is the first Cincinnati goal, I believe.
The only one you can blame, I mean, it's across low along this inside the 6-yard box, and Guzan doesn't come for it at all. He doesn't get close to it. Yeah. I mean, a good goalkeeper grabs that, at least pokes it.
This is what I was going to say. I blame a huge amount of that on Brad Guzan.
So there's a switched ball again to, he's covered at this point, but
so I'm gonna go back to that. This is when I watch this. First off, I think first fault here is Caleb Wiley. Didn't put any skin on this guy. Lets him just get a free trap without any pressure on him.
Well, that's because he's coming out because he was so pinched in, right?
So what? Then he lets him just do a free flick. He didn't get any pressure on him. Okay, and then boom, he just lays out pinched in, right? But that's.
Oh, Guzan's got to get there.
That's Huzettu who's pinched in.
Yes, he does.
And then Guzan has to get there. There's a lot of individual errors.
You can't blame the marking on the far post. I mean, anything that's that close to the goalkeeper, he's got to get easily.
I'm blaming Wiley and Guzan for a lot of bad play right there, though.
I would say I blame Wiley less because he's so pinched in. If he comes in, he dives in. Maybe the guy goes by him, but
he did not man up on that guy at all. He just let him chest it. I mean, you're a little guy. I mean, Wiley's not a huge left back. I mean, you got to put a little bit of elbow grease on him. And I mean, do you think someone defending? I mean, that's one of their biggest.
They could have fouled him.
Biggest players, right?
Too, yeah.
You're not going to put any sort of.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Let him know you're there.
I don't disagree.
I mean, that's not mentality. That's just. Come on, you got to play some soccer.
But a huge part of that,
Brad Guzan
comes from the fact where he started on that play.
Yeah,
because that's a 40-yard ball that was ballooned over.
Agreed.
Any guy who's anywhere close to that, what should have been, as we've been talking about all year, is he should have run forward, headed it, and it should have been counterattack city. Because that was a stupid lofted ball.
I like the way you're thinking.
I mean, that's the problem. The problem is we should be going the other way. And if you give Almada a counter like that, you know what happens? First goal that we scored is what happened.
Now you and I are talking the same language. Exactly. Wiley, at least go up there for a header. If you bump into him and foul him, they get a free kick, whatever.
But you have to be closer to do that.
Yeah. All right. So, okay, now it's 1-1, and then I think we get the third goal.
This is what we're really good at, is trading goals.
Yeah. Let's trade some goals up. Yakimakis with his 18th
and
goal
you
this
can
season?
trade goals against
goal?
To be honest with you, our finish in the standings, right, is exactly perfect for trading goals. If you trade goals, you can beat anybody below 6.
Yeah.
Right, because they're not so good. But you cannot beat the top 4.
All right. So Almada strong on the ball. A little reckless though with it, honestly. I wouldn't have encouraged that.
Saba is on the touchline. Comes in. Plays it back to Hernandez.
It's Almada.
It was Almada, sorry.
It's Almada who.
It was Almada again.
There.
Yeah. A little bit of luck in that, but if it's Almada crossing it, then it's probably not luck.
Gigi, being amazing about hunting the ball. The number of strikers who don't expect that ball to come through and they never go for it. He's just expecting the ball to come through, and that's classic, right?
Yeah.
It's great. It's a great striker.
So the first goal was...
Again, Barry, if you're watching, assume the ball's coming to you.
Barry would be out here some... Yeah.
No, sometimes he's standing in there, but
he's never standing in the box. No, he's not. That's not true by the heat maps. You can stay on there because let's go ahead and go ahead and jump to the fourth goal because that was the one that Dave was talking about where again it sounds like we are pinched in.
Wiley gets beat on the far side header by Lucho.
All right. Oh yeah.
And everybody's blaming Wiley on this, but go back to before the cross, or maybe can you pause it? If
I definitely wasn't blaming Wiley on. I blame the first.
Anytime
the first one was more on Wiley.
A professional player to have all day to cross it. A guy like Wiley can't stop even a guy like Lucho, right? So he's out there wide, right? and Hernandez can't get out there. I think it's Hernandez. Oh no, actually it looks like Saba. But anyway, this is okay. Here's the double madness, right? So it's actually Hernandez who's inside the box because he's so pinched in.
He's in the middle of nowhere.
Saba who has to go out there.
Hernandez is again. It is just as bad. Let's just again, people. What you're looking at right here is our right back, which we've been talking about all season. If you can tell me what use he is right now to any team on MLS at this moment, because it sure isn't any use to the Atlanta United team because Saba's out there.
In training, sometimes they set out those metal, yellow people. That's what he is right there. He's so, if you cross it right into him, it hits him.
Unbelievable. Okay.
There you go.
So it's Saba, which means when he cuts back, he's nowhere close to him, right?
Yeah.
And then people are going to blame, Wiley because so Lucho gets the inside of him and he flicks it over him. But once you have the inside like that, which Lucho does a beautiful job taking the inside, he can't go through him. He's going to foul him and it's a penalty kick. There is nothing you can do on a really good served ball like that. Nothing. So he was all over him.
Whose fault is this?
It's the cross.
I'm going Saba.
But whose fault is
Pineda?
And why is it Pineda's fault?
Because what the F is Hernandez doing?
But
why wouldn't you have your right back who's not going forward mark their left?
He's made an individual mistake, Dave. He's he hardly ever gets to start, so he's just out there in la la land.
And Pineda said this on these goals. He's like, once again, we had some mental mistakes in the back. Who gave the mental mistake on that? Somebody tell me where the mental mistake in that. Because Hernandez Dan didn't make a mental mistake. That's where he's coached to go. There is no chance we can do that. Every single player that we have playing outside back does the same thing. So either they're all idiots or they're coached to do that.
That was too easy to just wind up. But seriously, people, if you're just listening for the first time, you need to start looking at what we're talking about on our YouTube. If you're listening to us on the podcast, go to our YouTubes. We've been documenting this all season. Like literally, how many of these episodes, Carmen, do you think we've talked about this?
Oh gosh, I feel like it's almost every game or twice in one game. So at least however many games.
It's at least every game, and if not twice per game, that we're seeing this habit over and over again, which is coached or not coached out of the team, which is incredible.
And this is what I'm saying is so frustrating because as a coach, any system that you put in, right, defensively, right, your job as a coach is to make sure that typically a good coach will make sure that not one but two players have to actually get beaten for a goal to give up.
Yeah.
Right. This is a classic example. Who got beaten on that play? People will say Wiley. But Wiley, in that case, he has no chance on that. Yeah. And Saba didn't really get beaten either. He never closed him down, and he just cut it back. He didn't go by anybody. He didn't actually make any spectacular moves. Nobody whiffed. Nobody got megged. Nothing. And this happens to us all the time. They score goals without anybody getting a chance to make a tackle. Who could have made a tackle on that play? Nobody. I cannot tell you the number of times we have given up goals where nobody had a chance to make a tackle. And as a coach, you have to say, somebody should have a chance to make a tackle. Otherwise, we're in the wrong place.
He's heating up.
Uh-huh.
He's on fire.
So that's pretty much all we have to say about Cincinnati game. I don't know. Do you have any other points, Dave, you want to get to?
Well, I have a couple of minor things which I think are hilarious. So first of all,
I think you're hilarious.
So
hold on. I want to ask you one question though.
Yeah.
Do you think if Almada had not gotten the red card, that A, we would have won the game, or B, we'd have lost the game, or C, it would have been a draw?
Draw.
Think so?
Yeah.
I think we'd have lost the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because we wouldn't have been as focused in the last 20 minutes. Yeah, that's possible.
I think we'd have gotten tired out.
Yeah,
and
you're probably right.
And then
that's a good point.
You're
probably right.
I think actually the fact that we had focus probably with the 10 guys, because that's what always galvanizes any team.
Right.
Down to 10 men, we probably just packed it in.
Well, the other thing is they missed two sitters.
Yeah, well, that always helps.
I mean, people are like, and then Pineda said this too. Right. In response to a question, he said, I was really proud of them for buckling down and not really giving up a goal, because that was a tough fight down 10 men. I'm like, that was all luck. If you saw the miss that their Argentinian young guy made, he was inside the 6-yard box, nobody around him.
Kind of like only in the MLS type of thing.
Well, he just, and it was on his strong left foot, and he just he picked the upper corner and he blazed it and he just put it over and he looked at it like, oh my God, am I bad?
Possible.
Yeah.
Oh my God, am I bad?
Yeah.
He's like, and then he was just sheepish, just because he's young.
Yeah.
I think he's terrific. But I mean, he got to score that 8-9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
So anybody who says that, oh, we were galvanized and we suddenly played better, and people are like, well, maybe that will spur us on to getting shutouts. No way, no how. Because we didn't even deserve to get a shutout in those last 20 minutes.
Okay. So.
But I have you have to let me get to my.
Okay. Yeah. Get to your 2 hilarious ones. Let's do it.
Okay. So here's the question. So let's say this was a playoff match, and let's say it was 2-2 tie. Right, it was 2-2 in the score on. Right, and let's say we get a red card. Right, where are you going on your sub? Your first sub?
Going on my first sub.
Yeah,
with who we have.
Yeah,
and you're saying red card with Almada?
Almada, yeah,
with Almada.
Let's go straight with Almada. Because I was shocked at our first. Well, I wasn't shocked because. But anyway, I was scratching my head.
Yeah. I don't know who it was.
And who's on the bench? Who do I have to bring on?
All the guys you had.
Okay, so
you had Sosa. Actually, Sosa wasn't on the bench. Still.
Yeah, Sosa's not.
But he was out there on the field kicking balls.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. Okay. So he's still traveling with the team.
So Sosa's not an option for me because
he's not on the bench. He should be, but he's not. And it actually brings up something. The only defensive midfielder on the bench is Fortune. Yeah. The only defender on the bench is Parata, I guess. And then Lennon was still there.
So this is at what point in the game am I subbing out here?
This was it was 30 minutes to go.
But you're saying hypothetical.
No, in this game.
Oh, in this game. It was 51st minute that Almada got the red card.
Pretty early then.
Yeah. So we got 30 minutes left of play, right?
What are you gonna do?
40 minutes play. I am going to put in either Josh Wolf potentially or probably Wolf.
So you go like for like.
I'd put in Wolf and I'd shift in Saba to take Almada's role.
Okay. Well, then it's not so crazy so Pineda went with, I'll give you a hint. It's the exact same sub that he always makes. Nothing different, no situational anything.
Yeah.
So who's the first guy he brings off the bench every time now?
Oh, Miguel Berry. Is it a trick question? It is who he brings on.
No, there's a guy now.
Mascara.
He brings on before Berry.
Now that would have been hilarious, actually.
So he brought on Mascara for Saba.
Well, why would you take Saba out of the game?
Why? Because the only guy who can control the ball.
You went into this game like, I want to win. Let's take off our designated player who certainly can play more minutes because he's only played, 8 games for us? Something like that?
Right.
Yeah. Again, I'd be fine.
Saba was on international duty, though, too. So, anyway. But there's no...
Saba doesn't count minutes.
I had this, vision, and I was like, okay, so if you're a coach, you're thinking, okay... It's, your normal sub's going to be Mascara for Saba. That's what he's doing every single time. And so the game calls for something different because Almada gets an unlikely red card. We lose a center midfielder. Hopefully you got to maintain the tie, right? Playing it down a man, you got to maintain the tie because you got to get to the shootout, right? That's what you got to be thinking as a coach, right? Hopefully you snag one or whatever, but mostly you're thinking down a man, let's hopefully get to a tie. Right? So you'd think you'd change something. You wouldn't bring on Mascara for Saba. You would actually do something defensive. Right? That seems to me the obvious thing to do. But it's like, he was like, no, I can't think of anything. I'm going to go with Mascara for Saba. What?
He can't think of anything that would be defensive that, might actually make the offensive players on our team actually play better.
Well, so the
what
obvious
novel concept.
So the obvious thing would have been either A, bring on Fortune as a defensive midfielder, right, and hold down the middle. You're down a man,
Yeah.
Right. So you're going to be under pressure in any professional thing. You're going to be under pressure and you're on the road. So you're down a man. Right. And it's a tie game. So it's not like, you're losing or something. You got to go for it. You're a tie game. So you got to go for a tie. Right. So you either have to bring on Fortune in the midfield, right, and play an extra midfielder. So you bring on Fortune for one of the forward line, or you bring on Parata as an extra center back again for somebody on the forward line.
I thought this was hypothetical but you're saying your thing was this was hypothetical in the playoffs. I thought
even in the playoffs.
So that's why I'm playing with a winning mentality, because you shifted it to what if this was in the playoffs?
No, but in the playoffs, it's a 3-game series. So I would go for a tie and hope to win on PKs.
Oh, crap. I forgot about the 3-game series.
Yeah, you've got to win on PKs. That's what I would be. If I were on the road at number 1 Cincinnati, right, and I was at 2-2 and we got a red card, let's say this was now in the semifinals later, right, or somewhere later in the tournament, I would say, pack the bus, right?
Right.
And still counter. I would leave on the speed to try to counter, maybe we can catch him, right? But you have got to say we're under man at a man down. You got to have an extra defender on the field.
So what was your other funny thing?
So that was one crazy thing. The other thing I think is nuts, Tiare.
Mm-hmm.
So Tiare, I know you all didn't watch the end of the game, but Tiare in the what minute was it? I thought I wrote it down. Yeah, 85th minute. So he comes on the game. He's playing in the 85th minute, right? So their goalkeeper makes a save, okay? And he runs over, shoulders the goalkeeper with the ball over onto the ground. He shoulder charges the goalkeeper who's holding the ball. First of all, he's a madman. Yeah. Second of all, how is that not a red card?
Yeah.
If the goalkeeper is holding the ball and you intentionally charge him and knock him over.
Can I ask, what did our awesome MLS Pass commentator say about it?
I think, to be fair to them, they were flummoxed. They were just like,
no, but they shouldn't be flummoxed. They should be professional and call it like they see it, like they do in the EPL. So what was their comment?
I think they were a little. I don't really remember. I think they were sort of.
No, that's what I'm saying. This is a problem.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're saying, and I didn't see it, if you're saying it's so black and white that like that was silly, you either should have gotten a red card or is lucky you didn't. The commentators in the EPL can say that stuff in like, it's unbelievable how good they are with some stuff. Like when I watch like the really good crews that call the games, like they're so fast with, so like that was silly. He's lucky he didn't get himself on a red card. They will say something like that immediately, Dave. And boy, the commentators, and I know the crew is still learning, but they've got to figure out how to be sharper on their feet to be able to call things out like they are, to your point.
So we've seen now 3 occasions where Tiare has come in and he's only been on for like 10 minutes. And on 3 occasions, he should have been red carded.
Oh,
right.
That's right.
He's the new Dom Dwyer. I mean, like for sure. You know how Dom Dwyer used to come in? He's like, I'm going to get my 10 minutes worth and I'm going to tackle someone hard and hopefully break their leg. Tiare is that, but he's just stupid. Right. Like, I mean, I'm not saying stupid as a player. He's like a madman. Like, so like, for example, the last time, I don't know if you remember, he got pissed off at some infraction and he went and fouled a guy. They said, play on. He chased the next guy down, fouled him again. They played on and he fouled the third guy. And I was like, how is that not a red card? You can't foul 3 people in a row. Now, I know you have advantage.
He's had what, 1 goal this season?
I think he did score a goal. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So is that worth $1.2 million?
No, that's what I was just going to get. Yeah, the salaries.
I mean, that's a lot of money for a madman. I mean, I like it, but you know me, I like some craziness.
Well, one thing I will say is considering that, right? So if you consider that, I hate to say it, but I don't think you can bring him on in the playoffs.
Too high risk.
He is a red card waiting to happen every time he's on the field.
Yeah.
I don't think you can bring him on.
Yeah.
Because he's going to get sent off. I mean, maybe if you're chasing a game, you're down a goal. You don't care if he gets the guy sent off, maybe. Yeah. But like,
you heard it here first, people. If Simon's going to have to come back to this cut, right? When he comes on and gets his red card.
That's right.
But by the way, also, I mean, shouldn't have Giacomakis been subbed off way earlier in that game too?
Yes. Well, he shouldn't have played.
I know
all the internationals.
I'm assuming that Thierry came on for Giacomakis, right? You said the 85th minute.
Correct.
Why was Giacomakis on the field that long?
Well, Giacomakis,
good. Would you call that good coaching?
He might have come off.
What?
He might have come off a few minutes earlier than that. He came off when he got injured.
Which
he got stamped.
Genius.
Yeah, genius. I agree. So maybe he's fine. Maybe I hope he is. But again, so let's just say hypothetically he's not 100%. So now the genius that is Pineda got us our best player red carded, and he got another player maybe at not 100%. Because it wouldn't surprise me if he's not 100%. And well, anyway, I thought I was going to go to so the salaries. You want to talk about his salary?
Yeah, let's talk. 1.2 million, right?
Yes. So Thierry is 1.072. Just over 1.1
just over
basically.
$1 million,
Yeah. But the thing that's so crazy about that is that he's at that, and like, all the new guys.
Like Silva is at 524.
Yeah, Silva's at 524. Muyumba's at 491.
Yeah.
And so so first of all, what I would say is, so all these people who are on the internet like shouting about this, some of our other podcast competitors are also shouting about this. And the first thing I would say is, look, there is no management ever that is not going to get something wrong, right? You can't expect that our best players are going to be the highest paid and all the way perfectly down to our worst player. Yeah. You're going to make a mistake, right? There's no whatever. So I don't really have a problem with Thierry making 1.07. He's clearly not worth that, but you can make a mistake, right? And he's only here I think he's only signed through the end of the year. Okay. Right. So I don't think we're not committed to it or whatever, so that's
like a prorated.
But one of the things it suggests is that they thought he was going to be good. I don't think he is. He's fast.
Well, who's going to judge whether he's good or not? Whose job is that?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing is he could be good, and then Pineda may not see it, and then he's not playing
Pineda thinks Miguel Berry's good. He must think this guy's he
runs.
Ronaldo, the Brazilian Ronaldo.
He played him over Berry.
Did Barry see any time in the one game I wouldn't have minded seeing him?
The one game we wanted Barry to start and end, didn't show up.
Yeah, if you had given me the team, none of the internationals would have started. I would have started a very young team and said, "Look, go for it, go have it, go have at it." And if we get a result, we get a result. We don't. Hopefully, Nashville wins. We play Orlando, and nobody has you can kill the momentum of a team. I mean, this is the other thing. If you play your top team
and then
you lose, then you can kill the momentum of your team. Now, obviously, if you play your top team and they do well, they do well. But if you don't play your top team, you have no chance of losing momentum.
And you can also create momentum because I'm sure the senior players know like some of the twos, right? So you bring up a Firmino, whoever, and give them their moment at the end of the season.
Firmino for sure,
right? It's like
he's deserved it with the twos all year. Give him
they're watching him. They're giving high fives. Like you got a result that made a difference to our season.
Can root for him, and then they can laugh at Noonan playing all of his starters. Yeah, I mean, I've been super high on Noonan all year as this amazing coach, but I'm like, I don't know why Lucho was in the game. Yeah, Noonan,
right?
What? I don't know why Miaga got into it with Almada and then almost got a red card later. Why? Why is he still in the game, Noonan? So I would say the same thing to them.
Is it seriously just about momentum and like what? Why? I seriously don't understand.
It's momentum, and it's a weird thing because, of course, in other soccer, there is no such thing as a playoff, so there is no such thing as you need momentum. You just get results.
Right.
But I think, in the playoffs, but to me, so if you are, the only way you could maybe justify it is if you were on a super hot roll over the last third of the season, you suddenly got hot and had a string of 9 straight matches and you really don't want to touch anything. Even if I did that, I would have still said, look, you got 45 minutes and then I'm bringing all the stars off, right? Because I'm not chancing anything, right? Exactly. But I wouldn't have done it even if I had all the momentum. I wouldn't have done it because there was nothing to play for, including there was all these weird things. There's Champions League at stake. But we didn't have a shot at a Champions League spot either. So, so there was nothing to play for. In fact, as I've been saying over and over, I think we would have been better off if we had lost or tied. And we hope that Nashville would have won. Now, Nashville didn't do us the pleasure, but we can't control that.
So Let's talk about who was I going to go to here? Sorry. Whether we next year, Miles gets paid 1.4 million right now.
Yep.
Arguably one of the top 2 center backs in the league, Zimmerman.
Yep.
But Miles also 5 years younger.
Yeah.
Absolutely worth the money at what he's getting paid now, obviously.
Sure.
DP level money next year.
Can you look up how old Miles is?
How old
Carmen?
is?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, is he designated player money worthy next year?
I think yes. So it's funny because, in MLS, they have set the salary structure that none of the defenders are worth it because none of the defenders are that good. He's 26. People, the next 5 years are his prime.
Yeah.
Next 5 years prime. Anyway, so they set the salary structure and the defenders don't get paid that much because, nobody's that much better defensively, supposedly. But my argument would be like, look, there are all these young South Americans. You can go, clearly all these teams have shown you can go in and get a guy who can score, right? And we, being one of the teams that has the most salary, we can go out. We've gotten a Barca. We got, before that, we got a P.D. Martinez, and now we had a Almada. We clearly are going to go out and get those players who are potentially going to score, right? Even Marcelino Moreno, right? The one thing you can't find, clearly, is a super defender, right? We went and got, Peruvian international and Abram. And Abram, no offense, I mean, he ain't even close to as good as Robinson, right? So in my opinion, if you have a valuable commodity, you would say not just whether or not, how much better he is above replacement, sort of. But the other thing is there's nobody. Yeah. So to me, that's your only option. So if you lose Miles, then, right now you would say, well, Peralta and Abram are the starters. But to me, Peralta and Abram, who are 2 average MLS starters, that's way worse than Miles.
So just curious, like if you are Miles Robinson's manager right now, like I would say Miles' Achilles injury was super bad timing, right? I think he may have gotten a chance to go to Europe and played in the World Cup. Had he shown well, he may have gotten that deal at 25 years old, right, to go to European club. Now he's 26.
Yep.
Okay, he's kind of at that point to make the leap over to Europe. He's starting to. Yes, he's in his prime, but who's going to pay big money for him to land in the right club over in a lower level EPL team or wherever, right? If you're his manager, what are you telling him right now, given you got the 2026 World Cup? He obviously wants to, like, for his highlight of his career, that might be it right now. If he's able to go on a really good run the next 3 years, in great form, like where should Miles be in your opinion in terms of his folks? Should he take that DP deal with Atlanta United and say, hey, just keep progressing and solid up your game? Or do you think he could actually do better if you're talking for him, not for Atlanta United fans?
What I would say is you have to ask the player, right? So in my opinion, if I were him, I would go to Europe only if he can get in one of the better sides. And I'm not talking about it has to be a number 1 side, but I'm talking about a team that's at least in contention for a Champions League spot. Okay. And I think a lot of people would say he ain't going to get that. That may be true. Yeah. Right. But if you can't get that, because the problem is, so let's say you go over to the Premier League and, you get a bottom side of Sheffield or whatever, then you've got to go there, establish yourself, play 2 years, then move up. And even if you make that move, you're now making the big move at 28, which is okay. Yeah. That gives you a good 3 years at a top club. But to me, is that worth it?
Like, so if he goes to a really strong team like Villa right now, who's playing really well, like in that 5th or 6th spot, could push into a Champions League spot if they shore up the defense, right? And then you gamble on seeing if a guy like Miles, who's young, because here's the thing about soccer. When you play with other players who are better than you, man, you play better soccer. It's like your game escalates to a different level. And sometimes you actually become better than them. And some like there's this weird thing that happens when you play with other really good players. It's like you kind of reach their level pretty quickly because you're like, wow, I've been playing with some pretty crappy soccer players for a long time.
So there is a U.S. national team defender who plays at Fulham.
Yeah.
And who's in the Premier League, right?
Yeah.
And Miles Robinson is a way better player
than Ream.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I would say is, I think that he's a steal. Yeah. Honestly. And I'll point out, this is not a defender thing.
So I'm going to go back to if you're his manager, like why shouldn't somebody be? I agree with you.
So I would have said, look, go try to find a Champions League kind of contending team, or alternatively a champion, contending team, in a lower league. Like PSV has bought in all these Americans. Like if he could get a starting spot on PSV, sure, go in Holland. Because that's going to be a Champions League team next year or something like that. So it would be either a 5, 6, 7 place team in one of the top leagues or a top 3 team in a lower league. Yeah. If you get one of those, go for it, right? Because you'll never get that chance again and you got to play, right? Now, the worry, whenever you move to Europe, no matter whose side you move to, whether you move to a bottom team like Sheffield or if you move to a top team, there's always a chance you don't break into the side and then your career is going nowhere, right? Yeah. So what I would say is in my opinion, unless you can get one of those spots, then the other thing I would do is I would sign for the highest MLS designated player spot they give you. And some MLS team is going to give him a designated player. It might be Atlanta, but if it's not Atlanta, somebody else is. Right?
I just feel like, there's some bad scouting in Europe if they're not looking at Miles. And to your point, Tim Ream or Miles and say, hey, I want to give this guy a shot. Like, I would say there should be some Serie A teams too that probably would be looking at Miles.
One thing that was interesting, I don't know if you watched, but AC Milan played Juventus in Italy this weekend, and there were 4 Americans in the starting lineup, 2 for each team.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, I think that says the American players, and those are offensive players, but the American players are a lot better than some people give them credit for, and teams are starting to realize this. PSV just bought a couple Americans. They're in first place in Holland, right?
What's up with Tyler Adams these days?
Still hurt.
Question.
Still hurt?
Well, he's coming back, but still hurt.
He's starting to train and
back. I think he's training. Yeah, okay. He had a setback a little bit, so I don't know how, but
And who is he with?
What do you got for Leeds?
Yeah, where is he?
Oh, I want to say West Ham.
Online correspondent needs to look that up.
He's in the Premier League. Yeah. He's in one of the decent sides. The West Ham, Aston Villa. I think it's West Ham is my guess.
Let's go.
But he's not playing for them yet. It's one of the decent Premier League teams he signed for. Bournemouth.
Bournemouth.
Okay. Yeah, one of the good.
Not so good. They just lost to my Wolves. I mean, come on.
They're still a good Premier League team.
The Wolves are pretty good this year.
Yeah, the Wolves have been way better.
A lot of talent.
They said he's out till at least February with another hamstring injury.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
That's not good. Nope. So it's a big setback. I thought it was a little setback. Big setback. Yeah. So,
all right, well, do you want to transition to U.S. soccer then, just quickly, since I'm just making you jump around here. We played Germany, Dave. I don't know if you watched that game, and then we played Ghana. Just some friendlies. This is the the best team the U.S. has ever had, right, Dave? And we got
and we got the reemergence of Gio Reyna. Him and Berhalter kissed and made up.
Did they?
At some level.
Did they make up? Did they talk? Have they talked yet?
Yes. Apparently, Berhalter talked on the phone with him a couple of times before inviting him back in.
Did Gia's parents write a note that was okay? Doctor prescription? It's okay.
Gosh.
Not going to go there.
I mean, I wonder if he had to have like an actual talk with his parents that U.S. Soccer set up with, Danielle, Claudio, and the coach of your son's team. Yeah. Something you would do for
if you did that, you would also need a therapist.
Because they literally weren't allowed to talk for like a good bit. So
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. To me, the international friendlies at this far away. Now, in fairness, we are not going to get anything but international friendlies because the U.S. doesn't have to qualify as a home team. So that's all we're getting for another year.
So like for another 8 years, no international games really matter
till the next World Cup, which is still a couple, 2-3 years.
We
away.
automatically qualify, and then moving forward, I mean, we're always going to make the playoffs, right? Or the qualifier, right?
Yeah, because they expanded CONCACAF, right? So it was the Hex, right? They went to 6, which was already expanded, and now it's like 8,
right?
Or 10 or something. 8.
It's
8. It's 8 this year. There are going to be some horrible CONCACAF teams in because it's like 8, and that doesn't include Mexico, Canada, or the U.S.
So if we ever have a Trinidad Tobago moment again, it'll be like
Trinidad's in.
No, I'm just saying, like in the future, right? If we don't make it, right, it will be a super meltdown.
No, it'll be a super meltdown because you as long as you get into what would have been the equivalent of the Hex before, so like the 6 out of 8 or whatever that made it, right? Now all will make it.
Yeah.
You just have to get into the last round. The U.S. has never come close recently to not making the last round.
I feel like y'all are jinxing us where in like 10 years we got to play this back.
Well, the thing about it is we're getting better and better and better. So like it should just get easier and easier.
Right.
I mean, if you look at the young players, it's funny because all these people are like, oh, in the World Cup, these guys are going to be whatever. And I don't disagree that we have some tremendous talent or whatever, and they're going to be moving into their prime. They have some World Cup experience. It's probably going to be the side. But honestly, you cannot tell me that there's not a guy or two who we have never heard of right now who are not going to be amazing come World Cup time.
It doesn't matter, though.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I agree, but
it doesn't matter because here's the thing: can you name 3 players, Carmen, that could play at like a Champions League level in Europe right now that are on the U.S. men's national team? That you're like lock solid, like,
okay,
no problem.
Well, I just mentioned 4 that are and played in this weekend. What do you mean?
I mean, like Pulisic.
No, in Champions League.
Yeah, AC Milan and Juventus are Champions League teams.
Yeah, no, but
they're not actually because Juventus got docked all those points.
I'm saying
like
Champions League. But what I'm saying is our starters like day in and day out on those teams.
Yeah, they were starters in the big match against AC Milan and Juventus.
So
what do you mean?
You're going to say Weah and Pulisic, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then McKennie and
Musa.
And Musa. Okay.
All 4 of those started in that match.
So there's our 4. Because well, I guess you give Reyna, so that's 5.
Yeah, Gio Reyna's at Dortmund. That's a Champions League team for sure.
All right, so we have 5 players that are, and then my point is look at all the other.
I think Balogun's in a Champions League. They're in first place in France.
Okay, 6.
So,
6. All right.
I mean, to me, yeah, and Serginho just went to PSV, right?
Yeah.
And so they're in first place in Holland. That's a Champions League side.
Yeah.
I forgot about him.
I guess it's just,
There's
when
2 in Holland.
The problem is when you look at the roster of like Germany versus US, like you're pretty much like, if you're being honest, like you're picking almost 99% of the German players. If you're the kickball coach, Dave, I know you are. You're gonna go, all right, I'll take that guy.
Somebody should put a straitjacket on this guy.
Well, here's the thing.
So
what I would have said,
I guess that was more my point.
So I would have said, like, yeah, maybe for another 2 years.
Yeah.
But not a single one of those players is even in their prime yet.
Well, right, but Germany's gonna. That's the other thing is Germany also has depth. I didn't even look at their bench, but guarantee you, say if you match up the bench players too, you're going to say the same thing.
But I wouldn't be surprised in 2 years when those guys are 3 years to come World Cup time when they're in their prime, if it's not true anymore. Yeah. Right? That if you would take some of those guys,
as long as it slants a little bit, I think we got a puncher's chance.
Yeah, but we're at home.
Yeah, there's the home advantage.
If we had a better coach, I would say honestly, my way too early World Cup predictions. I think even with Berhalter, we got to be predicting semifinals.
What?
Yep.
I think you're insane.
The side that we have. If you actually stack it up, I mean, outside of Germany and England, right? You know, the favorites of France or whatever, like outside of that, right? There is no country in the world that has more Champions League players. Period. So, and we're at home. So why is that not a semifinalist team?
It's just not because.
And we
any way you cut it, like
across the whole.
Here's
field.
why. Take Neymar out of the Brazil team going into the last World Cup. Like, I don't even watch Brazil. I mean, I know that people lost a lot of money in their World Cup pools by putting all their money, but Brazil was the right bet in the last World Cup. They were so good, and their second string, even this, I don't even know. Like, let's go to it. They were better than whatever the 2026 starters are going to be. That second team for Brazil, I'll take it. Go ahead and start them against him.
I don't know. Richarlison? You like Richarlison?
He's pretty amazing.
No.
Yeah, he's great.
You watch him in the Premier League.
You would take that guy.
How many goals has he scored for Tottenham?
All day long on the U.S. national team.
I would take him on the U.S. You would take him on the U.S. team, though, right, Dave?
Not as a starter. I have Balogun over Richarlison all day.
Maybe.
Yeah.
For now.
But Richarlison can't hit the side of a barn for Tottenham.
I would say
can't score.
I'm hopeful Balogun.
What kind of striker can't score? He's like Barry.
Okay.
I was kidding about that.
Put a straight jacket on this guy.
How many World Cup goals has Balogun had?
I was kidding about that.
How many World Cup goals?
Well, with Richarlison really rises to the occasion in the World Cup, but the rest of the time he's shit.
I mean, Dave, the biggest stage in football.
Look up how many goals
Dave
scored for Tottenham.
Yeah, stop it. 2 of arguably the best World Cup goals.
Oh, yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You can just pretty much retire on that.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about is just out of your arse with who you're actually going to take.
I still wouldn't have picked him.
Come on. Maybe it's bad coaching, though, Dave, with Richarlison.
I think Richarlison's not really good. I think he's amazing for a spectacular goal here and there. I think he's not good. Where's our European correspondent? I think he'd back us up.
What we got?
I think
one goal.
Talent like that is
He
talent.
scored one goal.
He has more yellow cards than gold.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't watch him on what's club team is he on?
Tottenham.
Yeah. Well,
he's playing for an amazing side. They're basically challenging for the top. And he still can't score.
He's playing for Tottenham. That's his problem.
No, they have an amazing coach.
You would have told me, is he playing for Tottenham or Chelsea? Okay, there's the problem.
No.
Yeah.
If you watch Tottenham this year, they actually look like they're going to be like the second best team. You know how you made that terrible bet about Tottenham being over Leeds?
Yeah, well, that's because it's Tottenham.
You said Leeds over
you
Tottenham.
You always cheer.
You made that bet. This is the year to make the bet on Tottenham.
Oh, God.
And I said it before the year because they got this coach, this Australian coach, and they were like really not happy to have him. He's won everywhere.
Wait, Tottenham's
they're in first place.
What?
Yes. Not only in first place, but look at the goals for and goals against.
What is happening right
24 and 8 against. They have a 12 differential.
Someone hacked the internet. I haven't been paying attention.
And Richarlison's been awful.
Yeah. Whoa, wait. Did Man United lose this weekend?
No, we won.
Oh, okay. Ooh, I'm sorry.
Just to get up to 8th.
Okay. Got it.
Anyway. We digress.
Yeah. Okay. I like how we're all over the place.
So the thing that we really have to talk about.
Okay. Where are we going?
MLS playoffs.
MLS playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
This is why we're here. Actually, we're supposed to have been talking about this 30 minutes ago. This is how we roll.
I like how it derailed.
But anyway, so we're going to go through all of the MLS bracket.
Oh.
Carmen hopefully can bring it up. And let's make predictions. Let's make a call. And let's say, you want to put a bet on it?
Yeah,
all three of us are going to make predictions, and whoever wins the most in round 1 wins the bet.
I love this.
All right.
So we're going team by team?
We're going each matchup,
right.
yeah.
And all y'all out there on the chat or whatever. Also,
okay, Carmen, you get to decide whether we're starting in the East or the West.
Let's go West.
Okay, start on the West. So the play-in game, which is going to occur this Wednesday, is Sporting Kansas City versus San Jose. Who you got?
Carmen, go.
Kansas City. Or Sporting Kansas.
I'm going to go with San Jose.
I'm going to take Sporting Kansas City.
I needed to have printed all of this out.
Well, you'll have it recorded, so it's fine.
Oh, yeah, I can go back and listen.
Yeah. Well, we do have a podcast. I don't know if you know. Gosh. All right.
Now, obviously,
we're going to go on So you'll say whoever wins that game. So in your case, you'll take San Jose. We're going to go on to predict them versus St. Louis. So Mikey Dobbs, San Jose versus St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Carmen, Sporting Kansas City or St. Louis?
St. Louis.
And I got St. Louis as well.
Okay, and to clarify, so the wild card is, how do they set that up?
That's just a
one game.
One game.
We'll know by Thursday.
Okay.
Wednesday night.
And then everything else is 3 games?
Yep.
Okay.
3-game series.
Yeah. So that St. Louis is the best of 3.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm still going St. Louis.
So the 1 versus the 8 is either St. Louis versus San Jose or St. Louis versus Kansas City.
Yep.
All right.
All right. So now,
what did you go with?
I went with St. Louis. All three of us went St. Louis.
Okay.
So that wasn't very exciting.
Right. I'll go ahead and say Houston in the next round.
Houston versus Real Salt Lake.
Houston versus Real Salt Lake. I say Houston.
That's the 4-5.
I say
game.
Houston.
Ooh.
Houston.
I'm going Real Salt Lake.
And I'm gonna go Houston as well.
Okay.
I'm going LAFC over Vancouver for sure.
Same.
And I'm gonna go same.
Yeah. And I will go Seattle over Dallas as well.
Carmen.
Nah, Seattle.
You know better, Dave.
Yes. Don't do it. Seattle. Don't do it.
Seattle. So did we just agree?
Yeah, we have all the 1, 2, 3, 4 seeds going through.
Do we have anything? What do we got? Let's see. Anything about anyone make any predictions?
St. Louis to the final, Elliot says.
All right.
Yeah. Hey.
Okay. All right.
St. Louis is
St. Louis is not getting to the final.
They're not, but they're punching above their weight this year. I love it. Okay. So now we got to go to the other side, right?
Yeah, unless you want to keep going through the whole bracket, but then it's silly because then you don't know what the winners are going to be.
It's silly. I think we just go
first round. We'll rebat.
Yeah.
After the first round.
All right.
So we are, I would say, dear podcast listeners, I think that this is a turning point in the ATL on fire, right? Because I think we started out as Atlanta United fans and football fans, and I think we've slowly become MLS fans.
Yeah.
I'll speak for myself, not for you all, but I think so. And I think that we are in the podcast business for the MLS playoffs, even if when Atlanta United goes out.
Okay.
Right. So I think we can podcast about it, and we can make some bets in the further rounds.
Especially if we make our way to a vineyard in North Georgia.
Yes.
Because we haven't talked about the Atlantic Columbus game, but
it's coming.
I think we're going to be 1, 2, and done.
No.
Okay.
So first of all, Red Bull New York versus
Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Right. I'm going to go Red Bull. Red Bull.
I'm going to go Charlotte.
I think that's
Red Bull are the better team, but you gotta love Charlotte in their first ever playoff experience.
Where's the games at home?
It's at
for
Red Bull.
Yeah, I'm going Red Bulls.
Yeah, you've been there in a way, right? How was the crowd? Was it fearsome?
It was not.
He went to a way.
I went to the semifinal in 2018. Atlanta United drew that game, but talked a lot of smack to some local New York people. It was fantastic, especially after the Falcons 28-3.
Ugh.
So where are you going? Red Bulls, Charlotte?
I'm gonna go with Red Bulls. I should have picked Charlotte, but they're not a better team.
All right.
Sorry.
So
that's all right.
So then
Carmen, you went Charlotte?
Carmen, Charlotte versus Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
Mikey Dobbs, Red Bulls versus Cincinnati.
Red Bull.
Woo!
He says Noonan. I think this is a good bet. Right?
Really?
If there's going to be an upset, Cincinnati is one to go. But I'm still going to take Cincinnati over Red Bull. But I think it's not a bad bet.
It's just kind of that
sleeper.
It's like the outlier bet. It makes no sense. That's why I'm going for it.
I like it.
The playoffs, it's funny because in the new playoff structure, everybody says blah blah blah. It's too many teams make the playoffs, so it's open or whatever. But actually, the last number of years, maybe all time, but certainly the last number of years, lower seeds have not gone anywhere in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Oh, really? There haven't been many upsets.
And MLS is the number one worst league worldwide of the major leagues, and the number one worst league in the U.S. of all sports in terms of least winning percentage on the road. So there's no sport.
Yeah.
Comparatively, it's all normalized.
So I'm definitely going against it because Red Bull is going to be playing in Cincinnati too. Yep. Those 3 games.
Their first.
Yeah. It's an outlier. All right, but I like it. I like it as a
it's a good pick.
All
right, Carmen, Philadelphia, New England.
Philadelphia.
And I'm going to take Philadelphia. I don't love Philadelphia, but New England without Bruce Arena to me is shambles.
It's been
They're not going to win without him. Yeah. And we should point out that the rumor is Bruce Arena coming back to be coach of DC United. Yep. Anyway, we'll see about that.
Yeah.
Okay, Carmen. Here's the big one. Columbus versus Atlanta United.
I'm going Atlanta. Wait, is Gigi hurt or not hurt? Do we know yet?
He's not.
Okay, Atlanta.
I think we would have seen something by now if he was hurt. But
Thiago Almada is out the first game.
I'm going Atlanta in 3. We lose the first one. We win the next 2.
Okay.
I'm going, unfortunately, Columbus.
Yeah, me too.
Dang it.
I don't think it's going to be close.
I don't even it's just, it's so Carmen, have we not learned, have you and I not learned anything on this? There's some dumb bets that I'll do, like Red Bulls versus Cincinnati. Just again, for the listeners, I do this type of thing because it sometimes.
God, I hope we're wrong.
Red Bull, yeah, I do too. God, I hope we're wrong.
I'm gonna be rooting my ass off to be wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
And by the way, if we make it through that game, how much do our odds go up, Dave, to make a run?
I think if we make that, we're making the conference final.
Yeah, I mean, I think anything, if we get through Columbus, which I don't think we will, anything is possible.
Because I think that we can beat Orlando or Nashville.
Yeah. Because they're all.
But we cannot beat Columbus. I think, to me, Columbus is the best team in the MLS.
Are they all one and dones after that? It's a single elimination? Yeah. So I think if we get by Columbus, who's the better team, because we can't stop soft goals, that at that point, you're just kind of running the gauntlet a little bit.
Yeah.
And a whole different set of rules apply in terms of just the team playing. I don't know. Different things happen. So,
but we'll get into details about the Columbus Atlanta.
Orlando,
later,
Nashville is the next one.
Yep.
Ooh.
Carmen, Orlando or Nashville?
Orlando with the home field advantage.
Orlando. Ugh, that hurt my feelings.
Yeah. Dave?
Nashville is limping into the playoffs. So I'm not that bullish on them, and I should be picking Orlando. I just don't think Orlando is that good a side. I'm going to go with that's the upset. I'm going to take Nashville.
Nashville to upset Orlando. That's not a bad pick either, Dave.
It's not.
That is not a bad pick either.
Orlando is clearly the weakest of the top 4 seeds.
Right, because they're kind of – doesn't feel like they've got a ton of momentum coming in.
But they have a good coach. But so does Nashville.
Yeah.
Nashville has a good coach too.
This is a tough
one. The thing about Nashville is they don't give up a lot of goals. And this playoff system is designed, actually, if you can give up goals and you can go on the road and get a tie and win in PKs, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
So normally, Anyway.
No, I think this might be the toughest pick out of all.
You can argue in this playoff format that you should always pick the better defensive side.
But I'm gonna go with your stat of MLS home games being big, and Orlando in a 3-game playoff. Orlando wins this.
Yep.
Okay. And what did you say, Cats?
I took Nashville.
He took the upset with Nashville, which
Okay, and now the other thing I'm going to ask you all to do ahead of the thing is to pick the conference winner from the East and West and who's going to be the MLS Cup champion. Now, we'll change that once if you lose, going through. But let's predict right now who's coming out of the East, who's coming out of the West, and who's going to win it all.
Okay.
All right.
Conference champion. So
we'll start with Mikey.
So who's making the cup?
Yep.
Okay.
And who's winning it?
I think. Can you? So on the left side, I'm gonna just make this easy on myself. I'm gonna say it's LAFC. Okay, I feel like that's the right pick. Our side is tougher. There's just so. I mean, there's so many teams I could see going through. Like, I mean, I could see Cincinnati, Philadelphia, even New England in their turmoil. I could see them, Columbus, Orlando, Nashville. I just feel like they're. Yeah, boy.
Ugh.
I'm going to go. So I said LAFC. I'm going to go with Columbus Crew.
Okay.
And then do you want me to pick who's going to win or are you going to wait?
No, pick the winner.
Okay. So the winner, man, I'm going to go with LAFC. I hate to do it.
Yeah.
All right.
Their striker is on fire right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Carmen, out of the West.
Out of the West that I know. Let's go with. Let's see what we got.
The West is so wide open.
It really is.
I
don't think it's going to be St. Louis.
I mean, Seattle's hard to bet against.
Yeah.
St. Louis is like where your heart's at, right? With
So,
new team.
I don't love Seattle. I don't love St. Louis.
Oh.
So if Seattle goes and LAFC goes, that one game will be in Seattle?
Yes, Seattle's the
top seed.
Top seed, yeah.
I'm going to go.
Home, they're very good.
Okay, I'm going to go Seattle.
So Seattle.
And then after the next one, right? East. Okay. And then the East, is it bad form if you picked Atlanta to win, but yet think Columbus will go to
this is a whole different prediction here.
Okay.
This is a whole different prediction. So you can go with Atlanta making it all the way.
But I can't go Columbus.
You can do whatever you want.
I'm splitting the baby, and I'm saying if Columbus gets past Atlanta, which could possibly happen, I think it's Columbus goes to the conference final.
So is that your bet?
Yes.
Okay.
So I have Columbus, Seattle, and where's the MLS Cup?
That's it. That's your MLS Cup. So who's going to win that game?
Home, the top seed.
Top seed. Okay. So that, okay.
Remember we hosted the cup.
Okay, Columbus.
Okay. Dave?
All right. I think on the East, it's easier, actually, believe it or not. I think the class is Columbus, and I think Columbus gets through, and I think they win MLS Cup again. And I'm going to shock you all because out of the West, I'm picking Houston.
Yeah, not a bad bet.
Say what?
So here's my logic.
Because Houston made it to were they the Lamar Cup winners? Okay, so they have a little bit of mojo from that, right?
Well, so the thing about Houston, so if you look at the teams, right? So first of all, St. Louis has been the best team, goal differential wise, best team, whatever. But you figure it's the first time, and I feel like that's it's tough. I don't think they're gonna win in their first year in the West. So Seattle, I think, is a pretender team. I don't think their squad is that good. LAFC, I like, and that would have been my number one pick. Yeah. But Houston has almost the same goal differential, right? And they have fewer goals given up. The only team that's given up fewer is Seattle. So I think Houston can go on the road and get a result. I mean, Seattle, the thing about it, the thing that strikes you in Seattle, right? So Seattle has given up the fewest in the whole West. They've only given up 32, but they've only scored 41. They cannot score. And I just don't think that gets you through the playoffs. You got to be, MLS is a high-scoring playoff league, right? So St. Louis has scored the most, and so you would just say, to me, St. Louis on paper looks like the best team. But I just have a hard time seeing they're going to win in the first time.
That's why I'm going with the LAFC because they got the best striker in the league.
LAFC was there last year. I think their coach is good. That the team is hot. They scored 54. They've only given up 39. They're good. Their goal differential is second best in the league, just behind St. Louis, but only 1 or 2 above Houston. And I'm just saying, I think there's a dark horse.
Okay.
So I think that LAFC, even being the better team, could go to Seattle and lose. I think Houston upset St. Louis. And then I think
Thank you.
Yeah, then I think Houston can go to Seattle and get an upset because Seattle can't score.
Okay.
Okay.
That's my dark horse pick. Y'all want it,
I like it. I like it.
Dark horse pick. But I think Columbus is the class. I think they are the best team. I think they are going to win it all again. Again. I mean, it's amazing for a franchise that's like got nothing going for it. No offense to Columbus. They've done really well.
So none of us predicted Atlanta United to win the whole thing, which is depressing. As fans of Atlanta United,
we know way too much about Atlanta to know better.
Yeah. I mean, to get through Columbus in this playoff series would be a miracle, given the algorithm. So that means we limped into the playoffs.
Yep.
In 6th place, with a very healthy squad, with a turnover team at midseason, with arguably very good signings by Bocanegra. So Bocanegra out people. Well, seemed like he picked some good people. Lagerwey gave him all credit for that. Here we are, still not being able to win games that seemingly we didn't even need to win, but the coach seems to think we need to win at the last game of the season. Why would Lagerwey choose to continue on with Pineda just because we made the playoffs? I'm assuming we don't make it past Columbus. Lagerwey takes a deep breath. Of course, you have to find a better coach before you fire a coach and bring in a new coach. That's paramount, right? But there has to be people that have a pulse out there that know how to coach soccer teams that could come in here and be super amped to coach Atlanta United, right? That are out there, Dave. Like,
well, we could poach either of the top two in our East, right? So we could poach the coach from Orlando, Pereira, who was, I think, incredibly overachieved with that squad. Yeah. And we could poach Noonan off of Cincinnati, right, who won the title, after finishing 6th in his first season, and now they won the Supporter Shield. So, and I think either one of them, I mean, who knows their personality, they might stay because they're loyal or whatever, but I think both would want to take, any coach would want to take it a step up in terms of coming here.
The world's a big place. There's a lot of coaches even you don't know of, Dave, right?
I know, but I'm just saying, even in our division, there are 2 coaches we could sign who would just be a massive step up.
Because do you think that it's better to sign a proven coach in our, like, that knows MLS?
Hell, you could sign Bruce Arena. I'm not saying we should, because I think whatever happened, and he's too old, but he's a better coach.
Sign Bruce Arena.
I wouldn't do it, but he's a better coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'd take
him.
He'd
win the title.
I mean, I'd definitely take him.
He'd win the title here. He'd win the title with this squad.
He'd win multiple titles here. Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah, bring him. We don't know what he did. No one's ever going to
tell us. No one knows what he did, so what's the big deal?
And he didn't do anything that was like apparently like sexy or whatever. He just made some foul mouth comments.
No one knows.
Supposedly.
Here's the deal.
Even
no one knows.
I mean, allegedly.
Yeah. So, hear no evil, see no evil. Come on.
You know what? I wouldn't even be mad at that.
Yeah.
And usually I'm mad at stuff like that, but that I'm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just saying.
I think we can just. I'm just so disappointed in the ambition of the ownership and the leadership of Lagerwey not to make some hard decisions on the coaching side of things.
Yeah. Because I mean, 6th place for our squad. And for the amount of money that we spent on our team, as you pointed out, we have the leading scorer in the league, right? Not the leading scorer in all of MLS, but the leading scorer in the East, tied for first place, and without penalty kicks by far and away the best, even in the whole MLS.
And Alexi Lawless pointed out today is that like 14 games where he's got a goal in each of those. So some of those goals, like the LFC guy, was like a hat trick, right?
Yeah.
Point is like
mopping up in big wins. Yeah.
Giacomakis is contributing consistently in every game.
Yep. So we have that. We have arguably, to me, I know that Lucio Acosta is going to win the MVP, and he deserves. He's been in the league a number of years. He has combined the most, goals and assists, but Almada actually has basically just the same or better. I think Almada's been the better player even.
Because the thing with Almada is like he had a lot more flash the first half of the season with those great free kicks and flashy goals. But when you talk about contribution to a team, he did all the quiet, hard work the second half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, he's out-assisted Acosta, and I think if you actually take away the penalties, he's outscored him too. I know. I mean, if you take away penalties from both of them. Yeah, and we have, one of the best defenders in the MLS. And not just that. I mean, if you take a look at the peripheral, the extra players, the Sabas, the Zande Silvas, the Muyambas, Abram, Peruvian international.
Caleb Wiley stepping up into his, and then
Wiley's one of the hottest prospects in MLS. The squad is really
and
good.
Above average Brooks Lennon, right?
Yeah. Brooks Lennon is terrific, in that role. I mean, I think he's good, so I think a better coach has us. Honestly, if you look at us versus Columbus, who I'm predicting is going to win, is the best team, I think our squad, you couldn't get me to take Columbus over our squad. If you asked me right now to coach one of those teams, I would take our squad for sure.
Darlington Nagy could be winning another MLS Cup.
Yep. He will. Probably.
God bless him. How old is he now? He's got it. Well, anyway, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Only like 32. I'm going to guess. He's old, but he's not like over the hill old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Continue.
No, I got nothing at this point. Let's shut this thing down.
Oh, I did want to say, Elliot pointed out that Noonan from Cincinnati just signed a long-term contract.
Doesn't matter.
I still think Uncle Arthur could get him.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, that makes sense because, if you're Cincinnati, that's exactly what you'd want to do. You got to lock him in because, they know the poacher coming.
Right.
I mean, and to be fair, we talked about, in a new coach, right? Like if you were going to go a new coach, let's say we are going to move on Pineda. You want a coach with head coaching experience and who's had a good record. Like the guy who Tottenham got, the Australian guy, who knowing nothing about him, I told everybody who could listen that he was going to be amazing at Tottenham. And he's had an amazing start at least. Because his record, he's won every single place he's gone. And people are like, yeah, but it's only the Australian League and it's only the Scottish League and it's only whatever. And you're like, yeah, but he won.
So do you think there's any smoke and fire with the Marcelino Gallardo's son playing for the Atlanta United 2? He's unemployed right now.
Yeah.
One of the best Mexican league coaches out there that they would be talking with him right now. Seems like that's not too far out, right?
Yeah.
With
the place for the team.
I mean, why wouldn't you be like, hey, you want to come in the office right over here? Like, let's just have a little quick cup of coffee. Do you think that you could coach Giacomakis and Miles Robinson if we talk him into staying with a DP contract? Like, and you do these things, and I mean,
I think that, so this is, you're talking about the glass half full optimist side. The glass half empty is Pineda stays, Almada gone, Robinson gone.
Turmoil.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, if you lose Almada and you lose Robinson and you keep the same coach, no one gonna, at least here on the ATL on Fire, I won't directly speak for you, but I think I will in saying that I don't think we're going to predict us finishing above 6th.
Oh gosh, no way.
I mean, we still would have Giacomakis, and he's terrific. He's going to keep scoring that number of goals. We'd have a terrific front line, and presumably they would bring in somebody. So, but our defense isn't going to be better. You still got to chuck us up for 53, 54, no matter what, giving up, because he's not going to change the system in the back, and we're going to give up 53 or 54 goals. And so if you give up 53 or 54 goals, right, how many teams in the MLS have even outscored 53 or 54, right? Not so many, right? If you look at the whole Western Conference, right, there is only 2. Right? Well, 3, I guess. Vancouver scored 55. So LAFC scored 54. Vancouver scored 55. St. Louis scored 62. And the Eastern Conference has been a much more dominant side. Columbus scored 67, but Orlando only scored 55. Cincinnati scored 57, right? New England scored 58, right? Nashville scored 39, right? So if you give up 53 or 54, you're not moving up the table.
Yeah.
Period. You're just not. You cannot have a goal differential to get up the table when you've given up 53 or 54. And my problem is, you can give up 53 or 54 in a single season. You can blame excuses and you can blame the injuries. But we had a full side. We had everything that you wanted. And we still gave up 53 or 54. So now, could we have an amazing season and only give up 50? Sure. But 50 ain't going to do it either. You're not winning. You're not contending. I mean, if you look at the top teams right now in the East, Cincinnati gave up 39, right? Orlando gave up 39. Columbus gave up 46, but they scored a ton, right? Philadelphia gave up 41. Let's go to the Western Conference. The best teams. I mean, St. Louis scored a ton. They gave up 45. But Seattle gave up 32, 39, 38 for Houston. If you want to be a top team, you have to give up under 40. Does anybody think that we're going to go from 53 and 54 to under 40? That's 14 goals, 13 goals.
Yeah. I think that we are going to have exactly what you predicted. No Almada, no Miles, and we're going to have Yakimakis, flipping the table with some hummus and Baba Ganoush. It's gonna be the Baba Ganoush scandal.
Baba Ganoush con pollo.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. So, I mean, this is my problem. This is where, so whenever you're evaluating, the coach and whatever you think you're going to do better, my problem is that I can't get over that. Now, I do think that if we were to move on from Guzan, which I think we will not, if we were to move on from Guzan, I think that we probably improve 3 or 4 goals just from that. And so that's pretty great. But 3 or 4 goals gets you down to 50. You still got to come up with 10 goals, people, while losing Miles Robinson. Who thinks we're going to be? I mean, I think just a goalkeeper upgrade, if we were to go that way, gets us 3-4 goals. But who thinks that we're going to get 10 more goals while losing Miles Robinson? Who thinks that?
God, everybody loves Guzan. Everyone loves Guzan.
Yeah, I love Guzan.
Gotta upgrade next year.
Yeah, he's got to go.
Absolutely.
If he wants to keep playing in MLS, good for him, but he's going to play for somewhere else.
Play somewhere else.
Yeah, he can't play for a top side.
No,
but no top side's going to take him.
Right. Like it's, again, this is where Lagerwey, like he's not Bocanegra or whatever, but he has to be guiding the hand a little bit with some of this stuff. Like coaching's not good enough. Make some tough decisions on the roster.
I mean, to be fair to Bocanegra, now everybody's still saying Bocanegra out, but to me, I don't think Bocanegra, I think,
No, but that's what I'm saying.
The only thing you can critique on this team, period, really, is you can critique maybe that we should have moved on Guzan from this year. And I think, honestly, anybody looking at that would have said, maybe he's got this year left, maybe not. And honestly, a better coach, it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
We could have still.
I'm okay with Goose being here this year. Yeah,
barely. I think I would have moved on already, I'm not horrible with him staying.
Would have moved on to some fresh energy, but he's not the reason we're not contending right now.
I would have signed a student goalkeeper from New York FC named Sean Johnson.
But in the off season,
there are a lot of
the emotions that Bocanegra is going to have are going to be tough on this one, right? Like I'm sure. He and Brad are, rightfully so.
Yeah, and we couldn't give him a good goodbye if he goes on the off season. It's going to be tough.
It would be super tough. Like that's a lot of emotion to make a hardcore correct decision.
I'd already have made the decision, and I would have told Pineda, and I would have said, okay, when we're losing to Columbus in the last 5 minutes and it's over, bring him off. Get him the...
Ooh.
And it's probably going to be here at our home field.
Yep.
I think we have a chance. I don't think it will happen because I think our home field will be, even
close
if we lose
enough.
that game, it'll be close enough. Yeah, we might be
give him a cheer off, right?
Yeah. And so I don't think we're going to get that. But
what is that on the 7th?
That's what,
yes.
Yeah.
So we're playing Tuesday the 1st.
The 1st.
And then we play the 7th. Ooh.
Is it a weekend, Saturday? What is that?
Yeah.
Or
so is it? The 1st is a
So,
Wednesday.
We play Wednesday away, then we play Tuesday at home, and then if we would play Sunday away. So for those of you who love the MLS schedule, here you go, right? You get a lovely Wednesday night road game. You get a Tuesday night home game. And a Sunday will be fine, but no weekends.
Carmen has an early morning. We're going to...
Carmen's looking at us.
We're going to shut it down.
All right, we've talked about it all.
We've talked about it all. Hopefully we talk about it all next at a vineyard, Carmen.
Yes.
Where it's a weekend. There's no work the next day. Figure that out. So,
yes, most definitely.
So Brandon, we're going to call you. We're going to schedule it.
I'm in.
Let's do it.
All right.
Have a good night, everybody.
Just like back in Guadalajara. You say it. I do it, coach.
Football is life, coach. Thanks for listening, everybody.